Welcome to the Teachers on Fire podcast, where I profile agents of growth and transformation in education today. Each guest shares their highs, their lows, their passions, their goals, and the resources that are shaping their thinking and inspiring their practice. For show notes and links from each episode, visit teachersonfire.net. You can also follow the show at Teachers on Fire on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, please subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm your host, Tim Cavey. Let's meet today's guest. Today, I'm speaking with Tara Martin. Tara is an educator, administrator, coach, and speaker. She's also the founder of BookSnaps, the DBC Inc. Media and Communications Director, and the author of Be Real, Educate from the Heart. You can follow Tara on Twitter at TaraMartinEDU and on her blog at taramartin.com. Tara, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Are you ready to talk education?
Of course. It's one of my favorite topics.
All right. Well, that sounds good to me. Let's get started. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit more about your current context in education? What does that look like for you on a daily basis?
So, I'm in a new role this year and it is super exciting. It's very interesting. So before this role, like you said, I've been a lot of different things, a classroom teacher, instructional coach, a district administrator of instructional coaches, even starting an instructional coaching program from the ground up, which was super interesting and exciting. But now I have the awesome opportunity of serving as the media and communications director of Dave Burgess Consulting. And what that means, and on an every day looks different. It's just like an educator, where every day is like a brand new day, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of things, but some of my common roles in this setting is just that I work to promote the messages of our authors. So my role is to find out what they need, the people that I serve, which is the authors and our PLN, Professional Learning Network. I'm often seeking out what is it that they need, and those are the things that I either create or make a way to have some sort of resource to provide for them. So, for example, one of my most latest creations, of course, is the announcement for our conference that's coming up in 2020. Mm-hmm. So super exciting there. But also, we just created a book study activities page. And this is a page where our books come with this really legit book study questions. And they're not only just slides, Google slides with the question on them, but there's also game cards in there with chance cards. And right above the materials, the book study materials for each book, we have videos of activities that you can do to add some bam to the blah of book studies, right? So no, it's not like getting boring and feeling like homework, but it's actually a fun activity, engaging activity to do with those questions. So those are the kind of things that I was hearing from our readers. I wish we had a way to do these book studies. I wish you guys had some materials to help us with sharing these with our teams or with our staff. And so that's just one of the latest creations that I've been working on. Of course, I run all of our websites. We have 4, and I update them. I created us a bookstore that's just also for the reader. But more than that, I get to work with authors every day. And I love this piece, especially brand new authors, because I get to hang out with them on Google Hangout, help them through the book launching process, and then also just helping them to amplify their message in multiple ways via writing, video content, whatever it is, helping them to get connected with conferences, podcasts, and different things that they can go and share their message out with the world. So that is plays to my coaching heart. And I love that piece of my role as well.
That sounds so exciting, Tara. And I don't need to tell you what the DBC books are doing for educators all over the world. Super exciting. So I look forward to coming back to that. But as you know, I know you've heard a few episodes of Teachers on Fire. We like to start with a moment of adversity. So tell us that story. Take us to an experience that was a low period for you, and then describe how you overcame it.
So, Tim, I thought about telling a not so real answer here,
Sure.
but I was like, no, I'm all about being real. So, I've really one of the lowest moments ever for me in education was my very first year of teaching. And I tell this story in my keynote. It's a very personal story, but it is so true. Like, I think people need to hear this. So, or maybe they don't. I don't know. I'm just going to tell it.
I want to hear
Anyway,
it.
perfect. I've like built all this suspense. Oh my goodness. Okay. So my first year of teaching, I was just living the dream. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I was a pirate teacher before I knew what a pirate teacher was. I wore a costume almost every other day. My kids never knew what I was going to be. They were like, I don't know what my teacher's going to be today. And I loved tying engagement to real content. It was my jam. And come November, we got this call, and I live 1,000 miles away from my family, and I live in Kansas. They live in Southeast Texas, and it was the sheriff of our county, and he let us know. He was talking to my husband, and he let us know that my dad had been murdered.
Mm.
So it was just my dad was doing things that he shouldn't have been doing. The murder, obviously, was also, both of them had just engaged in activities that they should have never been engaging in. And that was kind of their lifestyles. And that's the lifestyle I grew up into. But it was just devastating to me. It was something like I always had hope that my dad would just come around. And even as a little girl, I would tell him, like, you can overcome this lifestyle. Like, you've got this. And so at that moment, all of those dreams were crushed. But I thought, I have work, and I have a lot of great things going. Like, I just need to focus on the things that are going well. And in my mind, I couldn't get down there right away. I had to go back to school the next day just to kind of keep my mind somewhat focused until I could get there on the weekend.
Sure.
And it was Spirit Day, and I was just trying to do the best I could,
Oh,
like being so, my kids were really expecting me to be on. And I did this, and I went down south, stayed a week with my family. We got a lot of things, little bit of closure there. Came back, and I thought, I've handled a lot of tough things in my lifestyle, in my life. Like, as a kid, I lived in a very dysfunctional home life, and I always just dealt with it. But for some reason, this tragedy was more than my little mind could handle by itself. And so one day I had to go to my principal and just talk to her, and just say, I'm not doing well. Anytime I'm reading about a father, I'm breaking down in front of my kids. Like, this is just a mess. Obviously, I was nominated for Distinguished First Year Teacher of the Year, and I wasn't feeling distinguished or like anything worth people looking at. And on the outside, I think it was looking okay. On the inside, I was crumbling. So my principal had sent me to this counselor. I never was like, oh my gosh, no, I can't. I've always been able to handle things on my own, maybe school counselor here and there. But I went, and she just really listened to me and helped me to walk through a lot of things. And the most unusual thing she told me was, Tara, you are absolutely normal. And I'm like, oh my gosh, nobody's ever told me I was normal, ever in my life. And she's like, this is a normal phase of, this could be a normal phase of any kind of child growing up with trauma, and especially like a traumatic event like this, for lack of closure. And she kind of gave me these strategies to try. And I thought, man, this is crazy, but I'm going to try it. I've tried YouTube and all kinds of things to diagnose myself, and it just wasn't working. And so I tried the little strategies. I never had to get medicated. I thought she was going to put me in the hospital. It didn't happen. None of that happened. And it turned out the craziest part of this story is just 2 months later, one of my students' brothers was murdered. And I thought, oh my goodness, truly life throws you curveballs, and you don't know what to do with them. But I know that I'm going to be able to relate to this kid like I've never been able to relate to a kid before. And sure enough, we started having lunch together, and we didn't really talk about the murder of our family members, But she knew, and I knew her situation. She knew a little bit of mine. I did tell her my father was murdered. Everybody else in our class thought he just passed away. And it just was such a unique bond with that student that we were able to like almost have this healing process together and build this relationship that was like none other. This is a kid that was struggling academically, just like me when I was a little kid. And it was so nice to just see her trying just a little bit harder and coming to school and feeling like that was her safe place. That was a place to get away from those thoughts and engage in learning. And she gave me hope. I'm like, if this little kid can do it, I can do it. And vice versa. She's like, my teacher's doing it. I can do it. So at the end of the year, I just remember talking to them, to her family too, and just going through that and talking about, I think life throws us curveballs. It's what we do. It's what comes next that we have to focus on. And it's how we overcome.
Mm,
And, I was still nominated Distinguished Teacher of the Year. I still got awards and I came out of it and I was fine. I still was able to go back and live the dream. I just had to get a little bit of help through that rocky time. And I think as educators, we don't have to pretend like we have it all together all the time.
right.
And in life does, throw these things at us. And it's important that we recognize that we can't handle everything. And we take on the burdens of so many little people that we have to realize sometimes we have to take a moment just to care for ourselves and get ourselves back to that place where we can help other kids overcome similar circumstances.
Wow, Tara, that was so awesome and so well said. Thank you so much for sharing that and being that transparent. You know, it's so true. I think that sometimes life does throw us lemons and we can't just turn around and flip that into lemonade.
Right.
Those things are difficult. They are traumatic. We have to go through that grief. But it maybe gives us that extra level of empathy, right, for people around us that are going through similar situations. And, you would never in 1,000 years wish for the events that took place to take place. And yet here you are in a position where you can empathize better with people who are in a similar situation. And I haven't experienced that level of trauma, Tara. That's a remarkable story, but definitely we all have our, struggles on some level. And I think that's one of the main themes in your book is being relatable and being vulnerable and finding those ways to connect with other people.
It's true. And I love that, like you never truly understand another person, right? Because
It's true.
I don't walk in their shoes. So I can't, I almost kind of don't even like the phrase of understand, but I just love the idea of being able to empathize. Like maybe I can't really understand you or your walk, but I can empathize with you. I can almost bring myself to that place of feeling my heart just feeling squishy and vulnerable, like your heart might also be feeling vulnerable. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's true for no matter what our story is. We go through so many things and how you relate to students and how you relate to adult learners as well is going to be way different than how I can relate to them. But we all get to relate to them in unique ways.
Mm-hmm. So, Tara, let's talk about your book, Be Real, Educate from the Heart. It came out last year, and REAL is an acronym that stands for Relatable, Expose Vulnerability, Approachable, and Always Learning. Tara, this book has received incredible reviews. It's been one of the most recommended books I know by guests of this podcast. So for those that haven't read it, share more with us about just your heart and your mission for this book. And what would you say to teachers who are struggling to build connections and healthy cultures in their classrooms, who are maybe looking for new ways to be relatable?
Oh, I love this topic, right? So, being real and the book, it's a lot about my journey. So you got a little glimpse of my life there at the onset. I thought that was a little real to start out with, but hey, sometimes you drop right. It's like a movie where you drop right into the like really serious scene, and
Absolutely.
you're like, okay, let me back up and give you a little story. So I think Be Real. It walks you through my childhood and really just I just introduced the book with my second grade teacher who really saw something in me that I never even saw in myself, and I never heard anyone around me seeing me. And so she just took a little kid that wanted to learn more than life itself. And although I was struggling in every way academically, I mean, my favorite subject was lunch and PE and recess. And so she just tutored me every day when I got off of the bus, and she taught me to read. And once I learned to read in second grade, I never ever struggled in school again. It's wild to me. And I always write about Mrs. S because she meant so much to me, but she embraced this idea of being real. And that's why I introduced the book with her, because I became a first generation graduate, and she taught me at such a young age, like, you are not bound by your current circumstances. Like, you can overcome. Tara, you have so much potential. And she would tell me stuff like this that I didn't really understand as a 7-year-old. But now as an adult, I look back and I'm like, she helped rewire my brain because she was relatable, because she was okay exposing some of her own vulnerabilities with me, but allowing me to share mine with her as well. And it was a safe place. And she was so approachable. I still remember her smell of perfume. You know how you just know that? And
Oh, that's powerful.
she gave
Yeah.
me the biggest hugs. And I needed hugs more than probably a lot of students might need hugs, but I needed them. And so it was very important to me to have that physical touch. And she taught me that learning is your way out. And so for me, learning was always a vehicle for making a better life for myself. And I write about, in Be Real, I talk a lot about strategies for how do we relate to kids now. Like, then she exposed me to topics that I loved. So that's what we would read about. But now maybe we connect to kids with an app that they love, such as Snapchat. You know, students are loving fidget spinners. Then we do stuff with fidget. We teach them how to learn with fidget spinners, right? We use them in the learning atmosphere. But how do we connect? And how do we allow kids to like share their heart and the way that they're connecting to the learning in a real way where it's non-threatening in their classroom? So I think it comes with modeling. Like, we have to expose that vulnerability in order for them to feel comfortable to do that as well. We have to show ourselves approachable in order for them to be for them to approach us with real issues. And then we also need to share the learning process. Like, what is it that I'm trying that's new, and how does it feel when I don't get it right? And then when I have to iterate and try it again and try it again and try it again. Kids need to see that. Learners need to see that. As an administrator, I was always showing my coaches that. Like, guys, I'm writing a book. I was writing a book when I was an administrator. I'm like, this is so stressful. They're like, okay, tell me about the latest thing. Like, what was the latest edits? And they're always asking questions. And I want them to see that it's not always perfect. Like, you're always just going through the same process that they're going through as they're learning.
Right.
So I feel like if we can do that, technology, well, I feel like, let me back it up. I feel like technology will never, ever be able to replace what Mrs. S did for me that day.
Right.
Ever.
No.
Like, nothing could ever see in a child what she saw in me and meet those needs every single day that were so different every single day, even though I was the same kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where it's like job security. If we can be real and we can empower our learners to be real, then nothing can ever take our place.
It's true.
Because that is the piece that makes us who we are individually. And if you think about it, Tim, like this collective world of everyone just embracing their realness, their individuality, their strengths, their unique circumstances of life that's been tossed at them and how they've overcome all these people, embracing all of that. Wouldn't that be like the best world ever? But then
phenomenal.
And then taking it a step further, technology is not dismissed from this process. Like, using technology to amplify that realness. When people see me on Twitter, I want them to feel the real me. Like, I want them to see and feel the real me, because I want to use Twitter as a vehicle to share a message. So technology is not exempt. Technology is the vehicle to spread your realness much farther and wider. That's what Be Real is kind of all about.
We were made to live in relationship, in community, and one of my favorite sayings is that empathy will never be automated, right? And
Exactly.
I think you're right. We do have job security, and none of us know where AR and VR and all of these technologies are taking education. But I tend to agree with you that, you know what, there will always be a place for teachers because of everything that we're talking about that comes down to relationship. And that is well said. That's super exciting. So I've got the BookSnaps master on the line, Tara. So from a distance, I can tell you I'm a big fan. I like the way it shows up in my Twitter feed. I like the idea of, zooming in on a concept, highlighting, adding images, GIFs, other text, and so on. For me, I think it just cements the learning so well. I'm kind of a highlighter, and I've become an avid e-reader, okay? So I love highlighting and collecting and looking back on all of that. But for teachers looking to introduce BookSnaps into their classrooms for the first time, where would you point them to get started? And I'm especially curious about contexts that don't have iPads, they don't have iOS access or devices, and they don't have Snapchat. Are BookSnaps still possible?
With no technology?
Not with no technology. Okay, so I'm going to take you to my context. I'm in a BYOD laptop sort of a classroom. Okay, so I'm in an 8th grade classroom. No iPads, but we do have laptops and everything from Chromebooks to MacBooks. I'm asking a dumb question here, but maybe there are others out there who are like me that are just fans from a distance. So how can we use BookSnaps in our practice?
I got you. No, and that's not a dumb question. That's a fantastic question. No questions are dumb. But I ask a lot of questions. So, BookSnaps can be made in many different ways. Of course, on my web, I'm going to preface this with everything I'm about to say is on my website for free on how to make them in many different ways. So you just go to tarammartin.com. You go to resources, the resources tab from the menu. And on the left-hand side, there are all things BookSnaps. The second tab down is how-to videos. The one I'm about to tell you, it works for just about any form of technology, is if you can you access Google Slides?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Google Slides is one of my next favorite. My first favorite would be Snapchat.
Okay.
My second favorite for making BookSnaps is in Google Slides. And my video there in that video playlist that I just sent you to is perfect. You can literally show that 3-minute video to your kids and then they would rock it after that. Like you really wouldn't even need to help them. But making them in Google Slides is so fun. You can take a snap of your picture of your book with your camera, and then you can use it. You upload it into the slide. Then you take a snap of the cover. You upload that into your slide as well. And the neatest thing about Google Slides is when you insert image, you can search from the web. So you can choose images from the web that represent your thinking. Remember, BookSnaps, for anybody who's listening that doesn't know what BookSnaps are, it's a digital visual representation of learning. It doesn't even matter if it's a book or not a book. It could be science snaps, social study snaps. We even had a teacher in Oregon who did culinary snaps, food snaps. There's like every kind of snap imaginable. If you think of it like this, you are having the students recreate the visualization that's happening in their mind during the point of learning, and they are sharing basically a picture in their mind with you. So you're able to indirectly, you're peeking into the minds of all your students at the same time, right? And we don't get to do that very often. But the greatest thing about BookSnaps and how it ties back into being real is the kids can all read the same text, for example, the same page. They all make BookSnaps. Let's say we make them in Google Slides. Every student takes a slide. We're all going to make our first BookSnap together. We're all going to stay on our slide and make our BookSnap. And then you, Tim, are going to show this slideshow to your students, like in a slideshow. We all just read the same text together, one piece of text, maybe just even a couple of paragraphs. Then they make a BookSnap. And I love it because no two BookSnaps will ever look the same if you let kids connect in the way that they authentically connect. And I love that piece because you can share, like, that's how we share our realness through technology. That's how we allow students to connect to the characters in a way that really relates to them. And we don't say, find all the adjectives, and we don't make BookSnaps a digital worksheet, right? But we allow them to share, like, what are you thinking? What's happening inside of your mind when you read this piece? And we're also checking for understanding. Like, tell me a little more about that. How did you come up with that? What are you relating back to that I may not know about? And you get to build these relationships in the process of this learning tool of BookSnaps. So you can totally make them in Google Slides. It's actually really fun. Oh, one more tip on Google Slides. I'm taking way too much time.
No, I love
but
it.
You can, one of the things we did at the last district I was at is my coaches were having the like first grade and fourth grade would turn in their Google Slides to the coach. She would put them all in one ginormous Google slide. And during lunch, they would project them on the big projector. And it was like, there was no music or anything like that. It was just slide after slide, BookSnap after BookSnap after BookSnap. And they had the cover, the text, and then what images came to their mind. And then I always make them make a text box of what they're thinking to like type it out if they're old enough for that. My little people, kindergarten, they usually just use images, but anybody over kindergarten usually writes something. But it was like a BookSnaps commercial, ongoing commercials. And our media librarian, media specialist, librarian, whatever. She was so stoked to see so many kids like lining up. I saw this BookSnap in lunch. It was like this new Harry Potter book, or was this or whatever. And I got to have it. Like, it looks so exciting. So it's another way to promote literacy in your class, in your school too.
I'm sold, Tara, and I'm looking at your blog right now, and these examples look pretty inviting, pretty encouraging. So yeah, we are a Google school, and I look forward to, as you say, trying this out in Google Slides. It looks like a lot of fun.
Your kids will love it.
I know they will. Absolutely. Are you kidding? A chance to use emojis and memes, and yeah, they'll be all over it.
Exactly. And they're like, this is learning? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's wonderful. I have a lot of fun with it.
All right. Now I want to swing over, Tara, back to DBC Consulting. So we talked about that a little bit. You talked about your role there right now and the big announcement about the big San Diego conference next year. So tell us a little bit more about the conference. What do you most look forward to? And I have to ask, on a related note, what is your advice for educators out there looking to publish a book through Dave Burgess Consulting? How would they go about starting that journey? And of course, I'm asking for a friend here.
Of course, right? I got you. I think I got you. Okay, so for the conference, oh my goodness, I am so excited about this conference. And what I'm so excited about, well, many things, but mostly the gathering of what I like to call the PLF. I don't even like to call it a PLN because it's like a personal learning family, right?
Yeah.
And I love our learning family. It's not just authors, it's all the people out there that are contributing, that are reading the books, that are just being a part of our community, and all of us getting together in one place. I mean, San Diego is not going to know what happened to it. It's true. It's so exciting. And I love being a part of the planning of this conference. In fact, I've been planning it. We've been planning it for 5 months. So it's super exciting. The secret's out of the bag now and we can talk about it. But the events that we're going to have there, the sessions, everything is just going to be next level dynamic. You're going to walk away from there feeling empowered, rejuvenated, like, Wonder Woman, right? You're just going to walk away feeling so much better. I can't even wait. I can't tell you too much because we haven't released a lot of our information, but soon I'll be able to talk about it more freely, but it is so exciting. So excited.
Awesome. Well, I'm imagining Dave's got to be the opening keynote or will it be you?
No. Dave Dave takes the stage. He'll be amazing. So if you've not seen TLAP live, you at least need to come for that. I mean, that's worth coming just
There
all
we
by
go.
itself.
Yeah.
So more in here, you said looking to publish. So if you have a story that you want to tell, I always say get your thoughts down. So there's so many ways to do this. One of the ways that I found most beneficial for me is just opening up a Google Doc and literally thinking about my book in the terms of little compartments, because thinking about writing an entire book is scary. But if you think about it in compartments, and for me, it was the acronym REAL. So literally, I had a Google Doc for R, a Google Doc for E, a Google Doc for A, and a Google Doc for L. And so every time I thought of something or an experience, or I was going through an experience at work, that was a story that I could use to amplify this message of being relatable, I would jot it down. And if I was not where I could write it down, because my best ideas tend to come like in the shower or when I'm running, right? Where you can't
Sure.
really write things down. I would voice memo myself. And so you get to a place where you have like lots of content, and then you can start playing around with it. And then when you have something, you don't want to pitch a book with nothing, right? So when you have a little bit of content, you kind of wrap your brain around this message and zoom way out, because you want to be able to reach a wide audience. So you zoom in out, you're not just trying to reach just one set of audience. You're trying to reach a big audience of a lot of different educators in many different ways, in many different roles. Then you go to our website. We have a website, daveburgessconsulting.com. There's a connect tab all the way on the right. And there's one that says, I want to pitch a book, or I want to write a book. I'm interested in writing a book. And then you write the summary of what your message is and how you plan to share it. And if you have something that you can link, like you've already started some of your content, you can share it there. And that would be the first step. Someone will get back with you and set up a meeting with you, a Google Hangout, where they will talk to you a little bit about your message. It'll be Shelly or Dave. And when they do that, then you will learn the next steps of the process. And yeah, that's how you get started.
That is super helpful, Tara, and I can't wait to share that information with this friend that I'm asking for.
I think your friend might appreciate it. But
Absolutely.
the best thing is to get started. Like if you have this message burning in your heart, start putting stuff down, start putting thoughts down. And the more you put down, the more it'll come to you.
Keep the juices flowing. Okay, well, that is good direction and good encouragement. And I can't even imagine how many proposals DBC is receiving on an annual basis, but there is a lot coming out and it's all good. So that is encouraging. Okay. So Tara, as you look across your PLN and your own activities in education today, what really excites you as you look around? Is there one thing that you're kind of obsessing about right now, or is it just the conference right now?
I am obsessing about the conference. I'm engrossed in learning about it and doing stuff for it. But when I travel and speak, I still travel and speak and I get to work with kids now too in assemblies, and I really love that too. But the thing that excites me the most is just all of the teachers out there that are just becoming more vulnerable to step out of their comfort zone. I see it more and more and more than I used to, especially in my own district when I was, confined to one district. But now when I go and travel, there are so many that come up to me afterward and they'll talk to me about the Cannonball In message, it's my message for getting out of your comfort zone. I share this story of my dad. It's one of my favorite memories of my dad taking me to the city pool and teaching me to jump off of the diving board, to cannonball, and not to be scared, because I always just wanted to hang out in the shallow. And I think in education, we have to get to that place where we literally climb that ladder of that high dive with purpose, and we run and jump and knowing that we are going to swim. And so as teachers, we're going to teach, but it might be messy. Maybe we have a belly buster, or maybe our splash wasn't as big as we were hoping it. It didn't quite make the impact we were hoping for, but we run and jump, and each jump you get better and better and better. So the more risk we take in education, the more interesting learning happens for our students. And also we're modeling for them that this risk taking is okay. And it's good to tell them, like, I've never tried this before. We're all going to try this and learn together. And that's one of the things I'm seeing more of. And it's getting me so excited to have people come up and say, I tried this, or I tried BookSnaps. In my last BookSnap session, for example, there were 200 people, 87 first-time Snapchatters, 62 first-time Twitter users.
Wow.
They all jumped on during that session so they can make a BookSnap and so they can tweet it out. And that's taking some risk.
It is.
I mean, on the spot, right? And it's happening more and more. I see it all the time, that more and more are just kind of not sitting back and watching. They want to be a part of it. And so when they can take those risks in those tiny sessions like that, I just get stoked to think about what they're going to do in their classroom.
Well, I'm getting stoked listening to you, and it resonates with a lot of things that I think about, or I've been thinking about for the last couple of years. And I'm thinking there of growth mindset. I'm thinking about Brene Brown's message, which seems to be everywhere these days. And I think you're right. Teachers are getting a little more daring about showing vulnerability and being authentic and taking risks. And as you alluded to earlier, that's what our learners need. They need to see that vulnerability in the classroom. So speaking of growth in front of our learners, or maybe in your case, in front of adult learners, how are you looking to grow professionally and improve your practice this year, Tara? Can you share about a specific professional goal or maybe a project that you're working on right now?
Yeah. So I am a self-reflector almost to a fault. So I journal daily, and I love to like reflect and try to set new goals for myself. But one of the projects that I'm working on, so professionally, especially in this role, it's like a straight up 180 learning curve because I've never done this before. I've always been an educator. And this is more of a media side of things. So it's been interesting to learn all of the different dynamics of this role. But I want to talk about this project that I'm working on. So I'm super excited about it. I don't want you to think I'm not learning professionally, though. I'm learning straight up 180 every day. But I'm working on a picture book. So the picture book is written and it's now in the illustrations phase. And this has been something I'm so passionate about picture books. I use them as an administrator with my adult learners. I use them in the classroom with kid learners. It doesn't matter who I'm working with. I love the picture books and the visual learning. Obviously, BookSnaps plays right along with that visual learning as well. And so the book is about cannonballing in. It's all about taking risk. It is kind of the story of my father and me. But in characters, with little kid characters. And it's just beautiful. I am so very excited about this book and seeing the pictures make the words come alive. I just cannot wait to share it with the world. I really think it's going to work, Tim, for all learners. If you're adult, you're a child, you're a little bitty person, or you're a college kid, no matter where we are in life, we're always needing a little nudge to take a risk and to try something new. And I love the message behind this book because it really just empowers people to go ahead and do it. Like, you've got this, you're going to swim. And I love the dad representation in this book as well, because it is one of my favorite memories of my dad, but he wouldn't let me just stay in my comfort zone. And it was so scary, but when I finally did it, I've kind of always embraced that mentality. I get an opportunity thrown my way, I cannonball in. It may not be the biggest splash the first time, but I keep trying it, and I keep trying to make a bigger impact and serve my purpose on a bigger level. And I think the message is just going to be well received by a lot of different learners. Well, that's my goal anyway. And I'm super, 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 super thrilled about it.
Can you tell us anything about the title, Tara, or is that still classified?
Well, it could be Cannonball In, it could be Make Your Splash. So I'm not really sure what the title is going to be just yet. I mean, the whole entire thing is written. It's like all sketched out. They're working on the illustrations. Genesis is my illustrator. She's so, oh my goodness, most talented artist I've seen in forever. And she's just so amazing. And she really does such a great job of like making your reality, reality on the page. But the title, I think it'll be somewhere along the lines of Cannonballing In.
That sounds like fun. I
Yeah.
can kind of imagine some pretty funny covers with that title, and I'll tell you what, I've got some nieces and nephews that I
Oh
know
my
would
gosh.
appreciate that right from the cover. So look, but as you said, I mean, point well taken that those picture books can be super powerful at any age level as well. So I look forward to introducing that in the middle school too. So that's exciting. Well, Tara, I love to hear from educators. What is igniting your passions completely outside of education? And let me tell you, this is pretty tough for some people to go to go beyond the classroom and beyond the pedagogy. But tell us about something completely off the radar that really brings you alive.
Okay, so I wrote a couple of things. I thought of a couple of things when I was thinking about this question, and I was thinking video content. That's something that's super exciting for me, and I've been really just diving into watching a ton of YouTube videos, taking notes. Even when I watch movies, I'm constantly typing a few things on my phone, even though you're not supposed to have your phone out. Just trying to, wow, did you see how that music alluded to that? And that's what drew me in. That's what made me connect. And so I'm constantly paying attention to all these things. I can't even watch and enjoy anything anymore. I'm always learning. And so
Yeah.
that's one thing. But outside of education completely, that kind of helps me with my job. So I don't know that that really counts. To answer your question, I really love writing song lyrics.
Hmm.
I play the piano, and I'm not really great at putting chord progressions with my song lyrics because I'm not a great singer, but I love writing them. So it's just something that when I'm going through something or I'm just reflecting or I'm just feeling like emotionally connected to something, I tend to write it down, and I have like verses in a course, and I just kind of write song lyrics. And none of them, one day I hope they're sung by like Lady Gaga or something, but
Right.
at this moment they're just sitting in my notebook.
Well, I was going to say, if they're coming from Tara Martin, you're not aiming to be a chart topper. It resonates with something meaningful, right? It was something from the
Right.
heart. And yeah, I hope to hear something maybe at the conference. No, okay, no pressure, but never know.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So, Tara, share about a personal habit or a productivity hack. I mean, you've mentioned that recently, and maybe this was off air, but you mentioned that you've been putting in some long days lately, and you're maybe balancing a lot of different responsibilities. So, I love to hear how educators are making it all happen. Is there one habit or hack that really works for you?
You know, for keeping my sanity, I would say journaling. Journaling is something I recommend everyone journal. I know that that's not really everybody's jam, but for me to be able to reflect at the end of the day or early in the morning is amazing because I don't have to bother people with my thoughts, especially when they're like hitting together like a train crash. I can kind of gather a few of them, write it all down, and I even go back in my journal and look at like patterns of thinking. I love to study the brain. So it's kind of cool to study my own brain. And that's the best way I know how to do it. So I like doing that as far as keeping my calm, the calm to my crazy. Um, but to organize my life, I have a few tools that I really love to use. And one is Google Keep.
Yes.
It sounds so simple, but I have a shared grocery list with my husband and my child and whomever is in town. We live in the country. So whoever's in town, if they go to Walmart, they've got to pull up the list and just see if there's anything there that we might need and go ahead and pick it up. And so I love that piece of it. But also with work, I have 3 different Google Keep lists. And I use the little check boxes, of course, because I love that. And I have a work one and I have a big projects one. I have a goals one. I also have our bucket list, our family bucket list is on our notes on our phone, but I also have it in one of our my Google Keep list, just because anytime I have the opportunity to like pull those up, remind myself of my goals, what am I doing today that's helping me set me up to reach one of those goals? I like to be able to see it all on the screen. And I also love checking it off. I'm the kind of person that if I forgot to put something on there, then I would go ahead and type it in and cross it off.
Well, something that a lot of people are still not aware of, Tara, and I'm not sure if you're utilizing this, but when you're looking at a Google Doc on a computer in a browser, you've got Google Keep and Google Calendar and Google Tasks right over on the right side of the window. And so as long as you're functioning in that Google environment, they're sort of always there. And I've gotten into the habit of keeping those same apps open at all times. Now, I did have a question about your journaling. Are you more of a freestyle journaler, or do you like one of the journal templates out there?
No, freestyle.
Okay.
So
Just let it flow.
let it flow. So my second grade teacher is who got me started with that. She bought me my first little diary and it had a little key and lock. And I used to get to keep
Oh,
it in her bottom drawer of her file cabinet. And I would just write down thoughts. And then later thoughts became lyrics. And so that's where I kind of got into that. And then I channeled it back in. So I write journaling or lyrics. I just kind of do both.
well, I seem to recall from Teach Like a Pirate that Dave is a big fan of the same sort of practice, just keep having an ideas journal always within reach. And knowing his style, I think it would probably be pen and paper. But however you do it, make sure you can. Am I right about that? He's more of a pen and paper guy, I
Yes,
feel like.
he is more of a pen and paper guy. Good guessing there.
Teachers on Fire, before we continue, I do want to share an important announcement from the Teach Better team. Are you looking to reach more students, innovate your instruction, and teach better? Then join the Teach Better team on November 8th and 9th in Northeast Ohio for the first ever Teach Better conference. Join dynamic educators such as the guy we were just talking about, Dave Burgess, Tal Thompson, Adam Welcome, and more. Register now at teachbetterconference.com. And when you do, be sure to use discount code FIRE50, that's FIRE50, to save $50 on either of the 2-day registration options. Are you ready to be better? Well, Tara, it's time for your quick picks. And here we're interested in the education voices and resources that are shaping your practice and inspiring your thinking today. So starting at Twitter, tell us about someone we need to follow there and share why they've been inspiring you lately.
I love my PL family. I would name all of you guys if I could, but I'm going to choose Aaron Hogan today. He's at Aaron_Hogan. And he wrote the book Shattering the Perfect Teacher Myth. And he also has another book coming out. You guys need to keep your eyes open because it's going to be awesome. But if you're interested in what he has to share, you would probably really enjoy his blogs because they're so authentic. They're so from the heart, and they never leave you with just a thought, but they also contain strategies and practices to implement immediately. What he puts out there is stuff that you can literally read and you're like drawn to it. But not only that, he gives you ideas for acting. And I really, really love his content. He puts out great content. He's such a real dude. He's one of my DBC brothers, of course. But I recommend any educator following Aaron Hogan. He's fantastic.
Next, Tara, point us to an edtech tool that you currently love using somewhere in your practice. We talked about Google Keep, and I'm a big fan. Is there something else that you rely on a regular basis?
Totally. I absolutely love Flipboard. If you don't use Flipboard, you should totally download it. It's an app. But what you do with Flipboard is it curates blogs and content that you might be interested in reading. And the neatest thing about it is kind of like the Spotify of reading materials. You can kind of choose topics that you like, and it will provide relative articles from many cool sources that are popular sources. and you can read it. And as you're reading it, the reason called Flipboard, when you click an article, you flip it forward. And when you want to flip it into a folder, you can flip it into these different folders that you've organized. So for me, I have like blogging topics. So if I'm reading something, I'm like, oh my goodness, I want to reflect on that and I want to blog about it. I can flip it into my blogging topics folder. Or if I want to journal about it, I flip it into my journaling folder. And so it's really cool for just not emailing all this stuff to yourself and cluttering up your email, and saving it in a very easy file cabinet that's housed on your iPhone.
I use Flipboard a little bit, although you're utilizing it better than I am. Isn't it fun just the way the page curls?
I love it. I love it. Just it flips. It flips up.
It flips.
Yeah. Super cool.
Now, the next question is a tough one, Tara. I'm putting you in a hard spot here as a DBC staff member, but recommend a book, one that you've been reading lately, or one of your all-time faves, and tell us why you recommend it.
Okay, so I'm reading right now. I feel really bad too. You're right. I'm like, oh man, we have 68 of them I could recommend right now. But I'm reading one right now that I'm really enjoying. It's Tech with Heart: Leveraging Technology to Empower Student Voice, Ease Anxiety, and Create Compassionate Classrooms, by Stacey Roshan. And her, I think her Twitter handle is @BuddyXO. And I love this book because it has a little robot with butterflies coming out of its heart.
Okay.
And it's all about, so Stacey was or is as introverted, and in the classroom she always felt she was very bright, but she was super quiet and she felt intimidated. And she talks a lot about her real story. One of the things I love about DBC Inc. books is they share the real story amidst these strategies and these ideas for the classroom or for the learning atmosphere. And in this one, she talks about technology being a vehicle for students to share their voice, and how she uses these vehicles to be able to hear the voices of all her students and not make anyone feel uncomfortable or that extreme anxiety. It's a great book. Everyone should read it. It's a pretty fast read. And I just love how she makes it so easy for anyone to use it, even if they were doing a staff meeting. This is a great way to just make sure that all voices are heard.
Awesome. Tara, I know you've been spending some time in the car lately. So when you are on those long drives and you're opening up your podcast deck, tell us about a podcast that you've been listening to and really enjoying.
Well, I had yours because I've been listening to it every day. I just started listening to it not very long ago, and it's perfect for my workout. It's just mine's probably going to exceed all limits, but it's usually not very long. And it's about the right amount of time for me to get my run in and get started in the weight room. So I love this Teachers on Fire podcast. Another one I really, really love is by another one of our authors, Don Wettrick. He has the Start It Up podcast. And I think this is the coolest podcast because he calls it Where Educators, Innovators, and Entrepreneurs Connect. And I love hearing how these people start from the ground up and build these empires, if you want to talk about it that way. But not all of them are empires, but they start from the ground up, and they talk about the process of it. He's even interviewed Dave about starting Dave Burgess Consulting and where he started and how he grew into this, what it is now, this publishing company that's thriving. So I love that one. It kind of gets out of educated. Not all of the interviewees are educators, and I just like hearing for other places in the world. What are they doing, and how are they keeping motivated and building that stamina to make it through all those obstacles that people often meet when they're starting something from scratch.
Well said about Don. I do want to thank you for the kind words about Teachers on Fire, Tara. That is truly touching and very encouraging, let me tell you. But yeah, Don is doing some very, very cool things. And I was just recommending his podcast on Friday. Did you know he is actually lining up real life investors to back some of his students' business plans? I mean, he is out there. Yeah,
cool.
he's awesome.
He's so dynamic. Yes.
Incredible. Two more questions, and these are both about video. Tara, tell us about a YouTube channel. Now, this might be one that is useful in some kind of an educational way or one that you just enjoy.
Okay, so I chose the just enjoy. And I mean, you can always go to my YouTube channel and, it's pretty educational. You'll learn a lot of cool things there. But I would say one that I really enjoy is Jennifer Lopez just started a YouTube channel and I follow her on Instagram. I think she's just adorable. And the coolest part about her YouTube channel is it's all about realness. She said, I started this YouTube channel because I want to share with you the real me, like what happens behind the scenes and, my whatever self-care routine and all these different things. And I think for such a superstar like her, it's kind of cool just to learn
Mm-hmm.
the real everyday life from her and her children. And I've really enjoyed her YouTube channel. You should check it out.
Okay, well, we will take a look at that. Last one, Tara, and I love throwing in a strictly non-educational question. What are you watching on Netflix these days? And I know lately all I've been hearing about is Game of Thrones, which I don't think is on Netflix. But yeah, what is your jam?
I'm really not much of a TV watcher. I do watch a couple of things each year. It's terrible. I like to go to the movies sometimes, but I don't really watch TV that much. I like to watch World of Dance.
Okay.
I'm super fascinated with it. It just ended the finale on Sunday. And I don't know. I've always wanted to be able to dance like that. I'm not a dancer, but I enjoy watching it. And another thing I really love watching is American Idol. I've never really watched it before until this year, but this year I started watching it a little bit. I used to watch The Voice. This is like the only things I watch. And one of the things I really love about American Idol is just those judges giving these kids an opportunity to share their talent with the world, and the children, like the students or the adults, whoever they are, learning how to be vulnerable and share a piece of themselves with the world and take this feedback and learn and grow. And so I've really enjoyed watching American Idol this year. I'm pretty boring.
Not at all. Not at all. I get it. I get it for sure. We've actually cut cable here, so we're not watching much TV either. But those are pretty good picks. And I always like here. I mean, I find them so insightful just in terms of who you are as a person. So you mentioned the piano, and that fits as well. American Idol. So, Tara, I've taken up way too much of your time. And honestly, I had to cut questions and still I think I took too much out of your evening. So thank you so much for your generosity tonight. What are the best ways for the listeners to follow you and connect with those real ideas about education and about life?
So the best ways to follow me are Twitter at Tara Martin EDU. Please do follow our other Twitter account. I get to run that. We're giving away books right now. So if you're listening to this soon, like during Teacher Appreciation Week, but we're always giving away books. So you should definitely follow it anyway. So at DBC_Inc. My blog is tarammartin.com. If you go to resources, you will see tons of resources there for many, not only just teacher resources, but coaching resources and administrative resources. So I recommend that website. Facebook page, Tara M. Martin, and Instagram, tarammartin.real. And I would love for you to follow my YouTube channel. It's something I've been working on creating more content, and it's just Tara Martin. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure. Tara, I couldn't believe you accepted my invitation, so thank you. I look forward to meeting in person. I know that's going to happen eventually, but for the time being, I just want to say thanks again for sharing your time with the podcast today. It's definitely been real. Take care, and let's talk again soon.
Certainly.
Thanks for joining me today here on the Teachers on Fire podcast. For show notes and links from this episode, visit teachersonfire.net. You can also follow the show at Teachers on Fire on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Medium. And again, please do subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. Just before we sign off today, I'd like to thank all those who encourage and support the podcast on Twitter. At Sarah Johnson, that's Sarah Johnson with an S-A between Sarah and Johnson. podcasters for whom I have a great deal of respect. Loved this authentic conversation at Kelly Croy, at Wired Educator, at Teachers on Fire, and at Mr. KV, hashtag in awe to rise. And that's, of course, a reference to Sarah's podcast. Check out In Awe to Rise, which is relatively new, but I think about 20 episodes in, and she's featured a number of amazing guests and stories there. I'm definitely a listener, and I would encourage you to check out her content as well. So, Sarah, thank you so much for the encouraging words. They add fuel to my fire, and I really appreciate your ongoing support of Teachers on Fire. Sarah was a guest sometime in the summer of last year, and we continue to stay in touch, and I gain a lot of inspiration from her work. I will also invite you to check out the new Teachers on Fire magazine on Medium. This week, we featured a brand new writer. His name is Justin Belt, and you'll find him on Twitter at class_Mr_B. So type in Justin Belt, or you can also find him, I believe, at the YCast. His story was called One Word to Change the End of the School Year. And he writes about the importance of reflection as we wrap up, as we finish the year, as we battle exhaustion and try our best to finish strong for our learners. Now more than ever, we need to know our why. So thank you for that great story, Justin. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to more on the Teachers on Fire magazine. The Teachers on Fire magazine is a Medium publication, and you'll find it on medium.com or on the Medium app. If you're already an education blogger, consider joining our growing writing team. You can continue to publish content on your own blog, and you keep full credit and ownership of your content when you publish it on Medium. Message me at Teachers on Fire on any social media platform for more details. Again, I'm your host, Tim Cavey, and I'm so grateful that you decided to spend some of your day listening to this podcast. I hope that in some way the content you heard today helps you to teach like you are on fire. And I'll meet you next week right here on the Teachers on Fire podcast.